There are some things that are said about this instrument that might be keeping you from becoming an absolute Greek god of guitar playing. No, but in all seriousness, these are absolute myths that could be destroying any chance you have of really properly improving on this. Some of these drive me absolutely mental because I've been a music teacher for 15 years in elementary, middle school and high school, and a guitar teacher and a football coach, and I see some of these even in football, and it's number one. I read a story about a guy who decided to become a black belt in karate at a very late age. He sadly never became a black belt in karate, but he did reach a blue belt, which is quite far, even though I'm no karate expert. But the thing about that is that he was 69 when he managed the blue belt. And the thing that some people often say is, I'm too old to learn. I've even heard that from one of my students in middle school. That girl was 14 or 15. And it's this weird thing we have where all these prodigies start at like 3 or 4 or something. And some did start at that kind of an age. Some didn't. Steve Vai was 14 when he started. 14. And besides, you don't all have to become Steve Vai or like the Usain Bolt of guitar playing. Even if you're old, you can start and have fun. Enjoy it. Number 2, you have to learn these first. Yes, those are chords, and some people think you should always learn chords first. Well, first of all, I have a friend of mine, Janne, plays like this. And he, according to his own words, can barely play a G chord. What motivates you to play is different from what motivates someone else to play. And for most people, chords are the way to go, but for a lot of people, they're not. Actually, I always start my guitar lessons with new students. I always start with this song. And in middle school, when I was a teacher, I barely ever got to chords with the students. With some I did. The moral here is, try to follow a path that suits you, because fun is absolutely key. Number 3. Why is it that, this is a real person, so I won't say his name. There is a guy back in Finland where I live who has played the bass for most of his life and has actually played semi-professionally most of his life. And he's really very old these days. And there's no kind way to say this, but he's absolutely terrible. And this is a guy who does gigs with actual proper musicians. And he's sometimes called the lottery bass player because you never know which notes are going to come out of the bag. What am I talking about? Practice makes perfect. No. Because when we think about practice, we often think about, well, any old playing is practice. Not true. All practice is not created equal. I'll talk more about this towards the end of the video. But practice makes perfect in itself is a bit of a myth. Number 4. This is something we sometimes tell ourselves. I'm very guilty of this, actually. I can start tomorrow. I don't feel like doing it today. I'll start tomorrow. There's an assumption there that you will somehow be a completely different person tomorrow to what you are today. Chances are you'll actually be feeling even worse tomorrow. You might feel better, who knows. But just start today. Start right away. And if you want to get into a habit of doing things, try to make it like very concrete. So I'll play guitar after lunch in my room, something like that. So it's not vague. I'll play guitar at some point today, somewhere, because that's much easier to just, I'll do it tomorrow. Before I go to the next one, if you enjoy this video, please make sure to like and subscribe and watch it to the end because that helps with the algorithm. Number 5. When I was a kid, before I started playing guitar, my parents had the idea that I should play guitar. My grandparents thought it was a great idea, and they offered to buy me an acoustic guitar. And my dad, knowing me fairly well, said, no, that's a bad idea. He will not play the acoustic guitar because he likes rock and roll and metal. Bah! So my dad bought me an electric guitar, which turned out to be a brilliant decision. And this is something that sometimes I've heard actually quite a lot of times. I'm going to buy my kid an acoustic guitar. You should start on acoustic guitar. You shouldn't start on this or that guitar. It doesn't matter. You should start on the type of guitar that is appropriate for the kind of music that you want to play. If you want to play classical guitar, you should probably start on a nylon string, because that's what's like the thing. If you have very small hands, get a smaller nylon string guitar. Sure, if there's nothing else around, you start with whatever is handy. But if you want to play metal, an acoustic guitar, maybe not the thing. Number 6. You need a teacher. Back when I started out, I had a teacher who was well-meaning, a nice person, but frankly, he was close to making me quit before I even got going, because he insisted on me playing stuff that I didn't really want to play, and that was a big problem. The good thing is, if you have a good teacher, that can really help you. A teacher can give you feedback, they can give you a roadmap of what to learn and so on. But if you have a bad teacher, not such a good thing. And that's the thing. Some people get so hooked up with the idea that they need to have a teacher that they don't analyze their teacher and, is this teacher right for me? So, I need to have a teacher. Take that with a pinch of salt. A big one. A cup. Number 7. Gary Moore told the story of when he started playing, he had really heavy strings on his guitar, which meant that when he wanted to bend the strings, he had to work much harder than all of his friends who played guitar because they had lighter strings. So when he tried one of their guitars, he could bend much further. And everyone was like, how do you do that? And this is something I've heard on occasion as well. You need to start on light strings. It can be good to start on light strings. But this is again one of these things. It doesn't really matter. If you're motivated, just go for it. If you have heavy strings, keep going. It can actually be really good for you, like with Gary Moore. The science says that if you make a learning environment more difficult, like with the harder strings, the student learns faster. The problem with making it easy is you get into a comfort zone and then you don't really learn that fast. Learning should be a bit difficult. That's not to say that you have to start on heavy strings. I'm saying don't worry too much about it. Worry mostly about how can I play more? How can I learn more? If you're sitting around going, I wonder if these are the appropriate gauge strings, then that might be something that's holding you back. Number 8. I remember the friend of a mother of mine. The friend of a mother of mine. So let's try that again. Back in the day, the mother of a friend of mine, this friend of mine is younger than me, asked me what kind of guitar she should get for my friend, because he had been wanting to start to play as well. I was very young at this point. And I kind of went the route of asking what kind of music he wants to play and all that. She just went, I need to get the cheapest guitar possible so that if, which is probable, he quits, it won't be such a huge loss of investment. And I get the idea. But back then, cheap guitars were really bad. Now, these days, cheap guitars are much better. But the point is that you should get your kid or yourself, if you're buying one for yourself, buy a guitar that's comfortable for you, that feels right for you. Try before you buy. Or make sure you can send it back. Don't just go for the lowest priced one. This is a guitar I tried on my main channel. It's probably the cheapest guitar I've ever tried. And it's absolutely terrible. So don't just stare blindly at the price. Number 9 goes a bit back to the same things we've kind of been talking about already. Jimi Hendrix, as far as I know, didn't sight read. Van Halen, as far as I know, didn't sight read. Just one of the two biggest examples. I know for a fact that there are people who don't sight read, who play excellently. My guitar teacher, the first one, tried to get me to sight read. He even said, don't bother about playing fast, you'll never get any gigs with that. Sight reading is not the be-all and end-all of guitar playing. There is a different route. It's using your ears, transcribing stuff, learning stuff by ear. They don't exclude each other. You can learn sight reading and improve your ear. Or you can choose one or the other. That's fine. Whatever you want. If you're going to play punk rock, you probably don't need to sight read. Number 10. This is something that I remember reading a whole bunch in all sorts of guitar magazines. And it was, don't copy others, develop your own style. And this is still something that you get to this day. People saying, oh, so-and-so is just a copy of so-and-so. And it leads to, at least for me when I was a kid, it led to the idea that I have to somehow come up with a style of my own. But that can be really difficult. And the advice I would give to you is, first of all, don't worry about your own style if you're advanced, then you can start to worry about it. How do I make it more different from, let's say, whoever? If you constantly get the comment, you sound like so-and-so, then maybe you should think about this question. But I would say copy others. Just steal as much as you can. Steal licks from your favorite guitar players. But make sure that you have many, hopefully diverse influences. That way you will end up developing your own style, kind of by default. Because that's how you get new things, by combining old things in new ways. The probability that you will develop something completely new on guitar, there's not much chance of that. Number 11, the final one. I had two students of mine sitting opposite each other in school. One was playing keyboard, the other was playing guitar. And the person playing guitar played something fairly simple, like a few chords, but it was something nice. And the person playing the keyboard, she said, "That's so nice. I could never play like that." This is probably one of the biggest ones that hold people back. I mean, it's ridiculous how many people think that you need some kind of talent. If Cornel Rishkamun can play drums and bass, if Django Reinhardt could play guitar, he was missing some fingers. You don't need talent. You need to play. Just go for it. That negative self-talk is so harmful. It drives me absolutely nuts. It's crazy how many people bang on about that. And it kind of goes back to number 1. I'm too old to start. Both of these miss the absolutely fundamental point of guitar playing. It's to have fun. It's something we should enjoy, even if we want to become the best guitar player ever out there, or if we just want to play a few chords around a campfire. It's about enjoyment, developing a skill to some level, whichever level is the one that you want. You don't need talent. You just need to want to do it. But the whole "I could never do that" keeps you from actually even wanting to do that. Or maybe trying to do that. It's so self-defeating, useless, and just drives me absolutely mental. Now, I mentioned earlier practice makes perfect, that is a myth. If you want to know how to actually practice to get results, there's a video here. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope you had some use of it. Take care. See you. Goodbye.